Start removing our taps. So we have a button screw on the top, which just winds straight out. That comes straight off. I usually put them straight down on the floor. And then we have our flanges, like so. And that just winds straight off. Now we want to try and make sure that this part here does not get damaged, or else we'll have lots of problems winding our flange back on. The tip I found is that it's always a good idea just to loosen off the taps as much as you can. So yeah, we've got water coming out here. We'll rectify that problem as well. So just wind it out. In time, we need to remove our bodies. Sometimes it's always best to try and use a tube spanner. This is a 22-23 diameter. The reason being is that if you damage this here, as mentioned before, with your multis or spanner, it's very difficult to get the flanges and so forth back together. And of course, this also makes it easier to remove, because you can use either a screwdriver, or in this case, I just use the back end of my needle nose pliers, and all you can see, that's all you need is just to break that seal. So next step is we're just removing these. You'll notice a little bit of what comes out. That's normally from the water. You can hear it dribbling through. So it's quite normal to just have a little bit of water, about a cup. The bodies have been removed. You'll notice that you'll have the tap washers inside. They're normally flattened and squashed. So this is where you use your needle nose pliers. Just grab them there, just pull them out gently. And as you'll see, this one has been completely destroyed. So if you have a look inside, you'll see pieces on the bottom. Just pull that out with our plier. See that? As you'll see inside there, see how at 1 o'clock there's an imperfection in the seat that needs to be removed. Reseater. It looks very similar to our bodies, as in the threads are exactly the same. So what happens is this spins around like a die and will literally flatten it off so that it's nice and flat, in line with how the new washers will go. All right. Just a matter of putting it in nice and square, and just with your fingers you'll find that it will start to screw in. And it only has to be done hand tight. This is my little hand drill. I've got it set down nice and low, and in this instance I've just got one of those click-on ones. But a lot of them you can actually use just your normal old battery drill you get from Bunnings. You're probably kicking around, and you want it set on low. All right, so here we go. We're just going to repeat it. And that is all we need. We just check it, and if you have a look inside, as you can see from before, see how it's shiny, nice and flat, so that the actual washer will sit perfectly onto that brass seat. It's quite important. Because we've actually put brass filings inside, we don't want our washers sitting on the filings. So what I normally do is I just give that a quick clean, just a little bit of water. Things I've found over the years is that water can be dripping from where our spindle goes into our body. You may have noticed when we pulled it apart, we had water dripping out of here. So what we're going to do is we're going to wind it in as if we were going to turn it off, and have a look at the state, oh my goodness, of the O-rings. Oh my goodness, it looks like Dad or Uncle Fred's had a go at this. It's just a matter of just using our needle nose pliers again, and we pull them off, because they're obviously completely wrong. And this one, I don't know why they've put that one here. My wife wants to have the name of we repair what your husbands have fixed. So again, 2 new O-rings. Goes straight over the top. Just pop that down onto there. And notice how they're nice and round, like the old inner tube of a tyre. whereas these ones are flat. We've changed the O-rings over, they're nice and clean. Notice that our worm drive is nice and clean as well, so I use just a little bit of tap lubricant, doesn't need to be much, just a little bit on the O-rings, push it around, and I put a little bit on the thread, and then it's ready to be pushed back inside. The rings all back together, and notice how they're nice and flat. What I normally do then is I just check, these are called fibre washers. These are the ones that go onto here and seal the water inside, and they go onto this point here. Now notice we actually found one on the actual hot that was doubled up, and you can see how it's slightly broken. So I'm not going to take any chances, because what will happen is it will leak, and because it's inside the wall, it will leak inside the wall and cause lots of damage. So if they look rough, throw them out. We've got two new ones. See the big difference? And we just pop them straight onto our bodies like so. They are a generic size. Pop our washers on into position, they're nice and flat, see? And then we just screw them into the wall. At this point, just hand tight. Using a box spanner again, over the top, and we just tighten. They don't have to be forced on, but just firm, like so. Remember how we made sure that the brass seats were nice and clean? So what I do is I will then wind these on, just gently. If there aren't any brass filings still inside, it will come up inside the wall, get caught here, normally on the flow restrictor, or you'll end up with little brass filings out of here. So as being proactive, just remove this. It's just a little bit of PTF tape to put it back on, but it will save you a lot of time and effort. You just take off any excess PTF, which our little pot scrubber brings up nice and clean, and we wind our PTF tape on. So the rule of thumb is you place it over about 3 o'clock, wind it up, and you wind it clockwise. The reason being we do it that way is it binds onto the thread rather than loosening off as we put the fitting back in place. Only has to go around about 7 times. Get out our meter, and again it's just a matter of turning it on very slowly to start with, and you'll hear the water hiss through. Again, just gently, you don't want to turn it on flat out, and it will stop, unless of course someone's used the toilet and the toilet's filling. There we go. Let's go back inside. We have just turned the water on, so that means that we've actually got water right up to our tap washers, which are turned off. So I'm going to basically flood the shower, but that's okay, it's clean water. So we'll just turn our hot on first. We flush any of the filings out, and we'll do the same with our cold. As you can see, it's not dripping. If you have to look down on the floor, you will notice that there's little filings, maybe not with the colour of the tiles, but there's little filings there. Just make sure that you rinse that before jumping in the shower in your birthday suit, or you may end up with sore feet. The biggest issue I also find in showers in particular is that we end up with water on the tiles, but of course water runs down, doesn't it? So what happens is water will run down here, will hit the flanges, but then as you'll notice on this particular shower, they haven't been sealed. So what will happen is water will run inside the wall, run down in either behind the tile or in the wall, and cause problems with mold and potentially water problems down the side here. As you can see, the tile's cracked. So we can see that water has penetrated the wall. So we're going to explain that to the owner and we will put some sealant on there now. Doesn't have to be much, it just has to be enough to seal around the hole. So again, with our little bit of water, is we spray the silicone, and of course we can then just tap it with our finger and make sure that it's nice and flat and obviously down into our hole.